Against this right back, Charlie.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man.
There's always just that active and that defending. I think it's like. There's always just that active and that defending. I think it's like. There's always just that active and that defending. I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on.
Come on in. Of course, we're live, man. People deluded. I'm back again. I'm delighted to have a special guest. Jason, how you doing, man? I hope everything's well. I hope you're all blessed in that.
Yeah, all good. How are you?
I'm brilliant, man. I'm brilliant to have a special guest, man. To those who don't know, please let people know about yourself, what you do, and all of that good stuff.
Just write about football, living the dream. Really, you know. Just work for Football 365, Planet Sport. Find football news, write about it, do the occasional opinion piece as well. Try and share any wisdom that I've got and any opinions that I've got. But yeah, I mean, living the dream, really getting paid to write about football is not much better, apart from playing it and getting paid. That'd probably be the better.
You said it there, man. Living the dream. Again, because I know there's a lot of people, as you said, living the dream with aspirations to do such. What piece of advice would you give to people about practically going about being in your position or similar sort of roles?
You've just got to like be a bit of a beg, you know. You've got to message people, be a nuisance, show up places, be a nuisance, like message people with ideas, and you just need to be persistent and work hard and not give up early if it's not working. It's the same with a lot of things, really, but like I say,
agree.
You've just got to message people, message companies, email companies, and just keep going until you get a break, because it will come if you go for it.
You just got to be undoubtedly tenacious, man. Tenacity is what I'm reading from what you're saying, and a bit like us on a football pitch.
Exactly, bro. Yeah, exactly. And it's the same with what you're doing as well. Like just being tenacious.
Facts, man. Like you said, that. So, like anybody listening, hopefully that's a great piece of advice to at least kickstart the creative juices. Now, let's get into it. Obviously, it's my first time having you here. What's your feelings on Arteta and how the season's gone so far?
Bro, there's not a bad word to say, really, is there? Even if come end of May we've not won the league, you can't criticise him. The football he's got us playing, there's not a player that you could fault. I was thinking about it the other day, like, who has been Arsenal's worst player this season?
Do you know what? I'm so happy you said that, because I'm going to ask you that. And you know what? You've set it up. Before you obviously carry on with Arteta, who would be your underperformer?
Underperformer? I think Gabriel's got his flowers recently, but I think he's been the best. Actually, no, that's a lie. I've went the wrong way there. He's underrated. Underperformer in the starting 11. There isn't anyone. Like, I honestly could not pick anyone whatsoever. Martinelli had a bit of a spell where he struggled.
Yeah.
But he scored against Leicester and then he was back to normal. Like, I literally can't criticise a single player.
So who'd be your player of the season? You can't say Saka, because it'd make it a bit interesting. No Saka, no Martinelli, man.
I would, Odegaard or Gabriel. One of the two. I think Gabriel, just because he's come on so much, he's improved so much, and people forget that he's lining up again with a defender who's 21, I think, Saliba, and he's taken him under his wing.
Very young centre backs together.
Yeah,
very
Gabriel's like 24 or something, I think. He's still a young player, and he's the most experienced centre back out of him and his partner. So I don't think there's enough praise for him and what he's done this season. The fact he's not starting for Brazil is baffling, to be honest.
Ludicrous, man.
It is, but I'm not complaining from a club standpoint.
Neither
good
am
for
I, man.
us.
We can keep players fit, man, for a change, really and
Exactly.
truly. So what you mentioned Martin Odegaard, and I'm happy you mentioned him because I think we've come a long way with Martin Odegaard. I think he was kind of written off by small sections after a turbulent January period. What have you made of Martin Odegaard? Because when he's scoring an assist, then obviously he gets his flowers, but it's very easy for me, in my opinion, to lose him because we look a bit better down the left than the right with respect to Saka and Benjamin White. Obviously, Odegaard's there to get goals and assists and play sexy football, but it's off the ball that I think is the best thing. Him and Jesus when they're pressing together, man. Where are you at with Odegaard? How far do you think he can actually go in the game, man? Because we talk about Saka Martinelli's potential. How do you think he lines up?
How far? I mean, he's already the captain at Arsenal. Like that's crazy.
True,
He's
when
got
you
a,
put it like that.
he's got to captain Arsenal in the Champions League. He can hopefully captain Norway to a World Cup and make a good account of himself there. I mean, that team has potential just purely because of him and Erling Haaland. So, I mean, is he a Ballon d'Or winner? Who knows? Because the era's changing, isn't it? I mean, Mbappe's going to dominate probably, but I mean, you never know. I mean, to say that he would never win the Ballon d'Or, you can't rule that out. I mean, that's the ceiling, isn't it? But I mean, he's captain at Arsenal already. He's played for Real Madrid, didn't work out for him. I mean, he could go on and play for Real Madrid in the future. I don't think he would, but I mean, I don't think he has a ceiling. And I agree with you that people base a lot of football on the stats, whereas you notice it more when you're at a game. I think watching him he's such a leader, and you wouldn't maybe expect that from him, but he is such a good leader, and he leads by example, both off the ball and on the ball and through speaking. And I just think he's such a good captain. I think we're so lucky to have him. And 32 million quid, however much it was, just
Still
looks unbelievable. What a bargain that is.
in the day and age where there hasn't been too much value for money as well. Amazing signing.
And fans were wanting Maddison for probably double the amount, and Odegaard's proven that, although Maddison's a good player, I'm not knocking him, Odegaard's proven that Arteta's once again got it right with that.
Some Arsenal fans wanted Buendia over him, really. You know, that fans don't get to make decisions sometimes. I can't lie.
Hindsight is mad, isn't it? At times when you think about some of the things, like even touching on Ramsdale, fans were not wanting him.
Benjamin as well.
Yeah, Benjamin White. It was more the price. It was the price tag of both of them as well. It's not even like people thinking about the ability wise. It's more the fact why are we spending this amount of money on them. But I mean, White can cover two positions and be the best player in the team, and that's valuable. 50 million quid homegrown player, and he's only 24, I think.
And still inexperienced, you know. He's probably played more times for Arsenal than Brighton now, you know. He's only had a couple of full seasons in the Prem. We bought him off the back of one Premier League season, man. So I'm well laughing, really. These have been justified decisions. I think Ramsdale was given a bit of a hard time. I could understand back-to-back relegations, and I wasn't saying to sign Ramsdale necessarily as a goalie, but I thought he was a decent one. I'd say the thing that impressed me the most is how good he is with his feet. Fair enough, at Bournemouth and Sheffield, you're not really going to get a time to kind of show how good you are playing out from the back, but I guess it's spot on for Mikel Arteta to kind of see that in whatever metrics were available and how he could enhance Arsenal. Kind of going back to my last question, who would you say has got the highest ceiling out of Arsenal potentially? Because you've got Martinelli, Saka, Gabriel, as you said, Odegaard, Jesus is still there, etc., etc.
I think it's Saka, easily Saka, which says a lot because we've got a team with bagloads of potential. To say comfortably it's Saka just shows how good he is. But Saliba, I think Saliba could be a Van Dijk level player one day.
Even him, yeah, you're right.
Like 100%, he could be in centre defence for France for years to come. But I think Saka, he's already for me a world class player, and he's possibly England's most important player. I think him and Harry Kane are their two best players, England's two best players. And yeah, I say Odegaard could maybe win the Ballon d'Or, but I think Saka, he's got a Ballon d'Or in him at some point. Genuinely, like he's unbelievable. I just love watching him. So good.
I mean, like you said there, man, you know, obviously the Ballon d'Or is kind of different. Like we're gonna have to see in years to come. But I can't personally pick one. I agree with you. It's hard to go against Saka. I think, you know, I do think because of what Saka, Martinelli, Saliba's emergence, and obviously they're experienced players, but I think when we've brought in Odegaard, with, as you said, he's been at Madrid, he's had a lot to deal with, and he's still a young man, essentially. Obviously, Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, I think people discount their own potentials as well. So we've got some fantastic problems. We've got a fantastic squad developing and things like that, man. So who would you give player of the season so far to? I'm guessing Saka.
Yeah, nah, it's got to be.
It's easy.
Obviously,
Innit?
you said earlier someone else is not Saka, and I think I said Gabriel, but it's got to be Saka, doesn't it? I mean, to get double-figure goals and assists is incredible, and it's the fact that he is on Saturday was the first time he's not started a game in the Premier League
Crazy
since like
statistics.
December 2021. Like, I think
It's madness.
durability and availability is like the most underrated thing in a footballer, and to have that, although people say he's 21, he should be fit and able to play 2 games a week, but people don't realize how grueling it is to be a footballer, and he's playing week in week out at the from
And
the age
making
of
a
19
difference. It's crazy.
and being our best player. Like, it's unheard of.
And we got him for free, man. And when you look at, obviously, with all due respect, you look at Jadon Sancho's struggles, you look at Anthony's struggles. It just shows how good Mikel Arteta. Obviously, shout out to Emery, but it tells how good Saka is at improving, and obviously Arteta's ability to coach these players. Because one thing I've liked about Arteta is I always find him making comments, and then certain things happen across a period, and then I look at the hindsight. I look at comments he's made about making 1,000 passes, scoring an X amount of goals. Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli doing things in decisive moments, being consistent, and credit to them for taking on the information. But it's really lovely to see what they're doing and what Mikel Arteta is introducing into this football club. What did you make of the Leeds game?
First half was a bit shaky. I think everyone will agree. The
First half an hour was tough, yeah, 100%.
It was stressful. And then the penalty. There was Leeds fans complaining saying it wasn't a penalty. I think it was. Clear penalty. He was lying on the ground and just kicked out at him for no reason.
Come on, he's 100% a penalty.
It was bizarre. But as soon as we went 1-0 up, I think just settled into the game, and then we killed the game off by the 55th minute or whatever it was. We went 3-0 up, and I love it. Ben White goal just hits different. I don't know what it is.
There's something about Benjamin that is so likable. For me, it's because he's a rattler. I love players who do that. He gives people grief, and I don't know why, but maybe because he's not crazy with it, I don't know, a Diego Costa or a Pepe or things. But you need that. That's what the Invincibles used to do. You need that. He gives people grief, man. I remember when he did it against Mason Mount. I don't think this year, but last year against Chelsea or something. Benjamin, and that's another point as to why I like Mikel Arteta. Players are popping up in the right positions, and it sounds stupid, but you've got to think about it and do it. You've got to expect it. Obviously, he's considered that Martinelli's going to get the ball eventually. Let me get myself into the box. I'm going to go under the radar as a fullback, and he's made the difference, and he's got more goals than Richarlison at this moment in time.
I mean, he's got no right to be in that position to score the goal.
Amen. Right at all, bro.
It's amazing. I don't know what it is about him, but I think it's just the fact that he just seems so chilled out, and that it's like he just goes about his game, what happens, and when he makes a good tackle, he gets right into it, high-fiving Xhaka and stuff after nailing Wilfried Zaha, stuff like that. And like you say, Arteta's improved the positioning and all that. He's brought the dog into players, you know what I mean? Ben White's got that dog in him, doesn't he? And
he's got it in abundance, man. He's provoking that, Arteta, because as you know, Arteta can have all the ideas he wants. He has to be able to translate, and his players have to buy into it. So it's another brownie point for the players and Arteta, in my opinion. And it's crazy, man. What can you really say, man? I don't know where Benjamin White's future lies. I think right back's a good area for him. I do think he'll play centre back a lot more frequently as we get better and better. Nothing to do with Gabriel and Saliba, just if a right back comes in, there's more rotation, and we've got some cuter options. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Tomiyasu, even though unfortunately he's injured. I meant to ask you, what have you made of Tierney's struggles?
I don't know. It's more of how good Zinchenko's been.
Exactly.
And it's Tierney. I think Tierney starts for maybe every other team in the league, maybe not Man United. Ake's been good at Man City, but he starts for the majority of teams in the division. But the way that we played with this inverted left back is just not how he plays. He's more of a touchline fullback, isn't he? Running up and down the wing and crossing. Doesn't seem to suit him as well. But it's just he's a brilliant player. He's just in the wrong system at the minute. But Arsenal can go and get a good fee for him, I think, in the summer. I'll be sad to see him go. I think everyone will be sad to see him go, but I think it makes sense. I think Newcastle, I think he's made for that team. I think he'd be a brilliant signing for them. I don't know if we'd even sell to them because they're doing well at the minute. It's kind of a case of Man City selling to us last year. they didn't see us as a threat, and then they've improved us tenfold. We wouldn't want to do the same. I think it's maybe a bit different, but yeah, even he had, what was it, the Europa League game, first leg, he was injured, or he was ill, I think, before the first leg. It was just typical. So he's been waiting months for this game to come round, and he gets ill. Like, he's just an unlucky player. And obviously earlier this season, we went Tomiyasu in left back when Zinchenko was injured, I think, against Liverpool, and he shut down Salah, and it's just not really happening for him. And it's hard to put your finger on why, other than the fact that Zinchenko's so good, and Tomiyasu's solid when he plays as well. It's just reliable, just too injury prone like Tierney.
Do you start Tierney at Anfield? Because some might say to cope with that threat of Salah for as good as Zinchenko's
No, I wouldn't. I think that we need to take the initiative at Anfield and stamp our authority on the game early. And I think the way that we've won games is by dominating and being fearless. And I think having Zinchenko start, that means that we're going to have the extra man in midfield, and that could hurt Liverpool as well. Salah's obviously really dangerous.
I agree.
Having that extra man in midfield could be really important against them, because that's where they've struggled this year, Liverpool. And if they're having to start someone like Henderson or Milner or even Oxlade-Chamberlain in midfield, like, we could dominate them, and I think we need to take advantage of that, because they're wounded as well, aren't they? It's a team that we need to take. It's the best chance we're going to have to win at Anfield in a long time, I think. And I think, I'd start Zinchenko, especially because Tierney's not sharp, is he? He's not played a lot. So I think it's a no-brainer to start Zinchenko there.
I'm with you, man. Go on.
Yeah, that's it really. I think it's a no-brainer. Zinchenko to start, and extra man in midfield, dominate possession. I just hope and pray that Salah doesn't get in behind, because if he does, it's curtains, isn't it?
I agree with you. I think because of what Liverpool have been doing this season, obviously how City put 4 goals against them and the manner they did it, I think everyone forgets Liverpool actually took the lead. And I was watching that period where Liverpool were half in it with a keen interest, because obviously, like City, we play a high line. No matter how great defensively you are, byproduct of playing the way we play, you are going to naturally be susceptible to the transitions and the counter attack, and it could be a bit scary getting in, Salah getting in behind and things like that. So I hear the logic with Tierney, with the exception of him playing for Scotland. I'm like you. I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We've got 9 games left. I love the way you pull it about stamping your authority. I think we've got to be confident but not stupid. Naturally, Liverpool are good at home. They've got threats, but they're 2 teams in very different contrasts, and I want us to be fearless. Last time we won at Anfield in the league, I couldn't tell you. I want us to do that, and I think with Zinchenko, we suffocate their midfield. Unlike their midfield, ours is well-engined unit. It's working. We're not feeling sorry for ourselves, and I think if we are to provoke havoc, I think Zinchenko has to play, man. I really think Zinchenko has to play. And obviously, again, I don't know if Saliba's going to be able to play, but you've already had to make a change because Saliba's not there, assuming Holding starts. You take Zinchenko out, indirectly, we're kind of messing around with our back 5 unit and ultimately our build-up play. So I'm not really with it. And if anything, Tierney can always come on, especially if we're seeing out games. So I'm with that. Bit of a harder question, and it's one where I wish we could play 12 players against Liverpool in general. Do you go with Martinelli or Trossard? Because I assume Gabriel Jesus and Saka. I mean, there is logic to not play Jesus, I guess, and he could be on the bench. But where are you at with your front 3 for Liverpool?
Well, you're not wrong. That is a hard question. Like, how can we? We just wish we could.
We had 12 players, man.
How do you drop Trossard? How do you drop Martinelli?
And he loves playing against Trent as well, Martinelli.
Yeah, well, I think Martinelli. If I had to pick between the 2, I think I'd have to say Martinelli. But Trossard's in such a good run of form, not just scoring but setting up goals. I think he's set up like 7 goals for us already.
I've lost count, man. He's assist king now, man. Giving Odegaard a run for his money.
Assist hat-trick at Fulham, didn't he? Another one at the weekend. I think if it was a straight choice between Trossard and Martinelli, I'd pick Martinelli. Then Trossard and Jesus. I think you've got to start Jesus, over Trossard. I
agree.
I just think he's different level, but that's taking nothing away.
We bought him for these games, man. He has to play.
Yeah, exactly. If he doesn't play, we sat on the bench wondering, like, why?
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, and he has
exactly.
a decent record against them as well, if I remember correctly.
Then I think Trossard off the bench would be more dangerous than Jesus off the bench as well. Because Trossard would run them ragged. Jesus would run them ragged for say 60 minutes, and then imagine watching Trossard come on. It's like, Like, what now?
It's the last thing you want to deal with, yeah, man.
I think, yeah. So I think front three, just the one that we've went for the majority of the season when everyone's been fit: Saka, Jesus, Martinelli. Just go for the starting 11 that we know, except Holden if we need to play Holden. But I mean, Saliba, I hope and pray he's playing. But if it's Holden, it is what it is, and I'm sure you'll do all right.
Speaking of them, if you had to make a guesstimate, are you confident Saliba plays against Liverpool? And what have you made of Holden getting his little opportunities? And do you have confidence with him at Anfield?
I'm not the most confident, but he's not done anything while he's been filling in to show me why I shouldn't think he'll do fine. It's just one of those where it's a different atmosphere. I'm getting flashbacks of the Spurs game last season where his head just went, and he was just assaulting Son for no apparent reason, really.
Lost his head, I got to send off. Yeah, you're right.
But like that, they were on top of us, and if touching back on the Zinchenko starting and taking the initiative, that could kill the crowd early on, and I think the crowd play a big part in Holden, because I think Liverpool fans will be able to smell that he's in trouble, and if they can't, then it's curtains. So if we can start strong, like I'll be confident in Holden. It just depends on how we start the game. I think I need to judge whether or not I'm confident after 10 minutes. But obviously, I prefer Saliba. It's no doubt.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, if it's one of those as well, if Arteta has faith in Holden to come in and do well, then who am I to doubt the man? No reason to.
I mean, some people are actually saying, do we change to a back three? Now, I'm not really for it, but there was a point under Mikel Arteta who was playing a back three, and we obviously looked a bit better defensively, but we looked a bit better going forward. And to be honest, apart from when he got injured against Rashford in whatever year, Holden's best sort of period at Arsenal has been in a back three. Where are you at with it? I'm not really for changing the system, because I don't like the word negative, because negative doesn't always have to be wrong. If going with a back three nullifies Liverpool, then fair enough. But kind of what you was alluding to and what I agree with about taking initiative, relatively being on the front foot and provoking havoc and stuff like that, I don't think there's a reason to do that. I think we do what we're doing. We play who's been doing what they're doing. And then if we need to change it, we'll change it. But I guess there is logic. Would you change the system?
Definitely not. I mean, we're taught by 8 points by playing 4 at the back all season. I don't think it makes much sense to do that. Although obviously having an extra defender makes you more solid defensively, but then it just messes up with the whole shape. And we play pretty much like a back three anyway during games. Yeah. So I wouldn't start with 5 defenders or 3 centre defenders at Liverpool. I think that once again that just invites pressure. And you're right about, like, it's not necessarily negative. It's just the opposite of being naive and going there. Yeah. But no, I don't think it makes any sense to. Unless we have like an injury crisis, I think it's just going to have to be the same system between now and Wolves on the last day.
Where does that leave you? Because you kind of touched on it. Obviously, God forbid Benjamin White picks up a knock, but he is our only right back. Potentially, you know, if we go based on I want to say Crystal Palace. I don't think it was Leeds, if I can remember rightly. Partey spent a period at right back. Naturally, that has a knock-on effect for us at centre half. I mean, in central midfield. Where are you at? Do you think we should have kept Cedric? Do you think we need a right back? What do you think actually Arsenal need beyond this season, because transfer window's closed?
I think lowering out Cedric's probably the right thing. I mean, he's not really getting much game time for Fulham. So
yeah, which tells you everything, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, exactly. But I think in the summer, I think a right back, genuinely, yeah, because Tomiyasu is so versatile that he right back, left back, centre back, and then I think we need an actual out and out right back, because we don't really have someone who's set in stone as a right back.
Yeah.
Fresneda's been mentioned, the young Spanish guy. But yeah, I think obviously central midfielder, Declan Rice, someone like that. Would you go another winger maybe? Depends, because obviously like Trossard's like Tomiyasu in that aspect as well. He can play across the front three.
He's performed across the front three positions for us. Played off the right last weekend. Obviously off the left, he made his name, and he put in a shift as a false 9, rotating with Martinelli previously. Lovely player, man.
Exactly. I mean, when you're going to the Champions League, you need to bolster the squad a little bit, don't you? I think
significantly, man.
Yeah, I think right back that would be top. Well, centre mid, sorry, would be top priority, and then a new right back, a good young right back could come in. I think Cedric will go. And then winger wise, I think Pepe's race is run, and I think he'd probably bring someone in. And we're going to get linked with like Ferran Torres and Rafinha and Fati probably from Barca, but just depends on who's available for what price. But I would say centre mid 100%. That's what we need. Because although I love Xhaka, but I think that's a position that we could potentially upgrade on in the future. And Reiss will come in and be that 6 or 8, depending on Party's fitness or availability or whatever.
I'm with you with that, man. Like, I'm gonna ask you about centre mid again, but you just provoked a thought. If we could find like an Adebayor at Monaco or something like an emerging striker, if we're not gonna get the names we're linked with, I personally wouldn't mind a striker. I know it would be bad news for Eddie and Nketiah and Balogun. Ideally, I'd want someone of the Trossard ilk who can play all across. But I think, where would you be out of a winger? Like, let's just assume right winger that can push Saka, maybe even take his spot for as much as we love him, or a striker that kind of takes us up another level with respect to Jesus. Which one would you lean for?
I think right-sided winger, I think, for me, because Balogun's coming back, Nketiah's been good, he's only getting better, Jesus as well, he's entering what is supposed his prime years. I think right winger for me would be the priority. Get rid of Pepe and bring in someone of the similar profile to Saka. He needs the backup, especially if doesn't strike me as a sort of character that would sign a contract and relax. I think he'd kick on and be the exact same. But if he's going to sign a 5-year contract or whatever, having someone behind him just keeps him on his toes, doesn't it? Keeps him alert the whole time he's working for something. He's working for a starting space instead of just being the first name on the team sheet every single week. Like, it can have funny effects on players, even though Saka comes across as like the most humble guy in the world. Like you just don't know. And I think we've got enough depth up top. Balogun and Nketiah, Jesus, Trossard as well. Martinelli's like the emergency player for that position. I think we're fine there. Maybe in a year or two, sign someone who would be like an elite world class striker. Maybe just depends on how Jesus progresses and how we do with him. But yeah, to cut a long story short, a right winger for me would be more imperative than an actual striker.
You mentioned his name. What do you do with Balogun next year? Does he get an opportunity? Does he go out on loan? Like, where are you at with Balogun? Because he's doing quite well over there in France.
He's doing so well. It just depends on where his mind's at, doesn't it? Because it's easy for me to sit here and say, let's have Jesus and Nketiah and Balogun all fighting for a place, playing, rotating in the cups and in the league, coming off the bench. But it's easy for me to say if it would be Balogun's luck that he'd come back and Jesus and Nketiah wouldn't get injured at all, and he's just out in the cold, and all that progress has just been for nothing. So I don't know. I would love him to have that option, because if you want to compete on all fronts, you need a team like that, don't you? You need so much
you need a collective.
Exactly. So I mean, I think from a selfish point of view, I would want all three, and I think that we would be set for a while with them three. But I mean, if he asks to leave, and we get offered like £40 million or £35 million, I think we need to seriously consider it.
So what? It's sorry to cut you, but if you got offered 40 million for Balogun right now, without knowing anything, would you take it? 40 up. Let's just say 40 upwards.
I think so.
I can't lie. I think so as well, as talented as he is, man.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to judge, isn't it? Because he's not had that proper chance in the Premier League.
Strikers are weird as well. They take a while to start showing how good they really are. Like,
scoring for the team that he's at so consistently, like, it can't be taken lightly. Like, that's really impressive. He was outscoring Mbappe at some point.
He's our highest scoring striker, actually, really, out and out striker, with respect to Jesus and Eddie.
Yeah, but I don't know, he seems like he has everything you need from a striker, doesn't he? Like, he's got everything you need in a striker. I think he deserves a chance. But like I say, if you get offered £40 million, like, you might think it might be silly to turn that
Take it
down.
and run in it. Hey, Lender, 10 appearances or so for Arsenal, barely played 90 minutes. It might look like chump change in hindsight, or it might look like a decision well played. Like I look at, it's completely different. But Joe Willett, there were some Arsenal fans that were upset that he was going, and shout out to him at the weekend. But we've made our money. We keep laughing. We're not really missing him with the greatest of respect. Me personally, I think everything should be open with Balogun signing a new deal, coming back into the team, going out on loan again. Because if I'm looking at it very harshly, not to discredit anything he's done at France, but some people might say, or the gaffer might say, you know what, that's great. You've done it for one season. You know, can you do it in the Premier League where I'm watching you week in, week out? Where's the other aspects to your game? Because it sounds dumb, but you look at Jesus and Nketiah, goals aren't necessarily what a striker is going to live or die by in a Mikel Arteta system. You mentioned transfers, yeah, and obviously I see the articles you do. So I wanted to ask you on a few of these names, man. First thing, keeping up the task with strikers. We've been linked with Dominic Calvert-Lewin again. Are you having that? Are you staying clear? Where you at with that?
I don't know where that's come from at all. Like I don't think it's true. I mean, I don't have any like inside information or anything like that, but nah, surely not. Why would we bring in someone who's been fit enough to play about 5 games this season? I mean, I've probably completely exaggerated how little he's played, but he's just never fit, and we don't necessarily. If we are signing a striker, I think it's got to be someone who waltzes into the team. I don't think it, because we have Nketiah and Balogun who are obviously playing or behind Jesus in the pecking order. If we sign a striker, it's got to be like a game changer. Not Calvert-Lewin. I don't think he. I was all for signing him at one point, but that was many moons ago when he wasn't injured all the time and he was scoring consistently for Everton. But just shows you football changes so quickly, doesn't it? But nah, I'm not buying into that one.
Like you said, football changes quickly, bro. So I'm not really with that. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I like your skill set. I agree with you when he was scoring goals, but there's a lot of baggage for someone that's 26. And we've got a couple of players that we already look at in our team, and it's always touch and go with fitness. So I wouldn't add another one. He's not going to come on. He's not going to be the highest paid player, but he's not going to come in and be the lowest paid player either. And I don't necessarily care what you get paid. It's nothing to do with me. But if we're bringing you in under these pretenses, you need to hit the ground running. And as you put there, if you're not a curtain raiser, I'm not really for it. Like Dominic Calvert-Lewin at this moment in time, I fit him is probably better than Balogun and Eddie Nketiah in terms of just scoring goals across the Prem. But I don't think he's good enough to necessarily kill their pathway. If you get something that's too good to turn down, fair enough. And it would allow us to be a lot more direct and give us something different when we're playing low blocks. But I'm not really with it. I saw an article that you retweeted and it spoke on Onana, Declan Rice, and what was the third player? I can't even. Caicedo. Where are you at with that? Do you think any of that is feasible? And which one would you actually want out of all three?
Oh, it's so hard to say, isn't it? Because I think Caicedo's probably got the most potential out of them. But I think we need someone of Rice's profile more than a Caicedo. But no, I think, Rice would probably be my first choice just because I think he could be really good in that Xhaka role. But £100 million, like it can't be. That's got to be exaggerated because
got a year left on his contract, man.
Yeah, exactly. And all the reliable journalists have said that there's a belief he'll be like 70, which is still quite a lot for someone who's got a year left. But I think it's the fact how valuable he is to West Ham. It's like Grealish. He necessarily probably wasn't worth 100 million to City, but he was worth that to Villa, so that's what you've got to pay.
Like trying to buy Ivan Toney from Brentford at this moment in time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's another one. Didn't think of him. I would have loved him in the summer, but yeah.
There's a lot of red tape around his career at the moment.
Yeah, true. But Onana's a good one as well. He's impressed me,
especially if Everton go down.
Yeah. Well, you've got to be over that to do. He's massive, isn't he? He's like 6'5" or something stupid.
And he gave Partey the run around at Goodison Park, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, I'd love him. But I think Rice, if it's obviously it's not my money, but if it's the right price, I think he's a realistic and he improves us. So I think that's the right one. Just need to hope that Chelsea don't do what they do best and never.
You killed my imagination, man. That's the only thing that concerns me. Where we've been linked with Onana, Rice, Caicedo, Lavia, Milinkovic-Savic, whoever, you know, whether they're realistic or not, we're going to face competition. So by all means, I hope we sell the project to these players and whatnot. You touched on it, man. Why do you think Caicedo's got a higher ceiling potentially as Declan Rice? And also a bit of a double-edged question. Do you think we need two midfielders, or do you think there's reality where you need both Declan Rice and Caicedo, not necessarily either or?
I think we don't need two midfielders. It all depends on if Partey can stay fit as well. Like if he's out, although I like Jorginho, the drop off is huge. I think if we've got the funds available to get Caicedo and Rice, I'm all for it. Like that's a super team. That's a super midfield.
Talk about having your cake and eating it, man. That'd be great.
Yes, I think in terms of why he's got a bigger ceiling, I think that sort of player is just more unique and difficult to find. There's more box-to-box midfielders out there that can have an impact than there is like sixes, like just in front of the defence. He's a special player. He's only, I think, 21 or 22. Showed it at the World Cup with Ecuador. He's been brilliant for Brighton.
Showed it in any appearances he's made, man. Really, very good player he is.
And Brighton, they I think the only game they've conceded more than 3 goals this season was against us, and he was suspended. Billy Gilmore came in, and he just can't lace his boots. I think, yes, Caicedo is just a difficult player to find. I think there's probably more Rices out there than there's Caicedos, which is my logic and why I think he's got a higher ceiling.
I'm with you with that, and I think one thing I would like about Rice is, for me, if Rice is signed tomorrow, for me, you're more likely to fight Thomas Partey, but for his spot. But the more I think about it, and I don't know, Xhaka's probably more technically gifted than Declan Rice and things, but I do think people sleep on his technical ability, and it's more the fact that one, you appear to be Mikel Arteta's number one based on what the media says, and I think it's about time he gets these number one targets. And it's like we've seen indirectly with Ramsdale and Benjamin White, like we was talking about earlier. We might see aspects or facets of Declan Rice's game that you wouldn't necessarily see at West Ham, because we both know the way West Ham playing us, it's going to be two different things. We're on the front foot. They're more like at war, at the trenches. You're more having to muck in and things. So naturally, we'd have to see a different side of Declan Rice. So he'd be able to do that Partey stuff and have his own. And he'd obviously pay for himself, like with Benjamin White. We know we're not going to make our money back, but in terms of being English, longevity, tying in with what we have, it would make sense. And you look at Jorginho's impact in his own way, Trossard, Jesus, Zinchenko, buying Premier League proven players. It's serving us right, isn't it? We didn't really do that towards the end of Wenger's career. So I'm 100% all for that. I saw an article saying, my final question for you, actually, I saw an article speaking about Zinchenko and Tierney, a potential swap deal for Hernandez of AC Milan. Where are you at with that? Would you, in theory, would you do it?
Oh, no. I mean,
no Tierney, not even include Tierney, as much as I love him.
Don't know. It just seems like I feel like we're better served improving elsewhere. I mean, the articles that I write, the articles that I retweet, just because I'm writing them or retweeting them doesn't necessarily think that they're believable.
You've got a job to do.
But yeah, but mate, some Italian reports.
Oh, mate.
Just like it's like a name out of hat, price out of hat, what type of deal out of hat. Like, it's
surprised
crazy.
I haven't linked us with Neymar or anyone else, man, because they're basically pushing on them sort of levels.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's absolutely crazy, bro.
I wouldn't be for that. That's just, I don't know how they come up with it. I don't know who their sources are. I don't know is there someone like a kit man's just pranking someone and saying, "Oh, this is happening."
Probably that. It's probably everything. It's probably just someone being creative. It's probably just the fact that they know social media for all football fans. We're just looking for some inkling of hope. So they're just doing that, and they're just leveraging maybe previous interest. Like we was linked with Benassia again. I would love a Benassia back at the carpet, but I'm very pessimistic. When I think it's called, it's either Mercato Calcio or something like that. Anytime I see that Italian publication, I'm like, yeah, cool. You fooled me with Vlahovic and Locatelli. You won't get me again, mate. Like,
pinch of salt every time.
Literally pinch of salt, several pinches of salt, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, last question for you, again, because I don't want to leave this guy hanging. He said, what do you think of Lindstrom? He's tricky and direct and plays as a right winger.
I actually wrote about him yesterday. That it was interesting. The report from Sport 1 in Germany said that Frankfurt think that he's potentially gotten as good as he can ever get, which is interesting. I think he's like 23. Well, played a handful of times for Denmark. Won the Europa League last year with Frankfurt, and it was interesting that. But like 40 million euros or something, he's apparently worth. Like that's in this day and age, that's not that
peanuts,
much.
really.
Yeah, it is. But I've not really watched enough of him to say whether or not I would like him at Arsenal. But I mean, the profile fits, doesn't it? He's young, available.
Plays a couple of roles as well.
He can play in midfield. He can play out wide. I mean, just off the face of it, without having really seen him play a lot, it doesn't seem like it would be a bad deal whatsoever. And we need that depth, don't we? Down the right. That's what I was saying. That's a priority position, I think, after centre mid and right back. I think getting that competition for Saka and having the competition as well for Odegaard can never go wrong with that.
Yo, I'm with you with that, man. In fact, proper last question. What do you do with Reiss Nelson? Like, nah, because I do you know what? I've just seen my question. I was like, I can't leave Nelson hanging. He's one of my
Reiss
favorite
Nelson.
A-lenders, man. Last one.
I've always liked Nelson, and I've completely forgot that. Like talking about the right wingers, I completely forgot about him.
And that might tell you where his future probably lies, if I'm honest. As much as I hate to say it,
he's done extremely well with the minutes he's been given. You have to admit. Like, what more is he meant to do? He's unlucky that his mate Saka is just generational. Like, he just can't get in.
I agree.
But he seems happy to sign a contract and play the role he's playing because he probably thinks I won't play for another team.
Won't get a better gig than this, really.
So if I think he's out of contract at the end of the season. If he's happy to sign a 2-3 year deal, do what he's doing now. If Arteta likes him as a person, like if he's happy with the minutes he's getting, then yeah, make it happen. He's although he's not playing that much, he's living the dream. He's playing for Arsenal.
Living the movie, bro. Like everyone that listens, he says I want to stay at Arsenal. I want to do this. He's been saying from the tail end of last year that he wants to stay, and obviously his form has probably made it more of a conversation. And we'll just have to see in the future, man. But I'd love for him to stay. Really, you know, if Arteta likes him, as you said, obviously the way we're progressing. If I look at it on a harshness, you know, are you going to really knock on the door of somebody's spot? I'm not too sure with Reiss Nelson. So I think it's one that I can't answer because I'm extremely biased to Reiss Nelson. You can stay as long as you want, really and truly. As long as you're doing somewhat what you're doing now, I'm all for you. You're a Hey-lender. I have this impossible dream, broski, of 11 Hey-len boys, a 20-man-old squad, the impossible dream. But every player that stays is a step in that direction of sorts, man.
Yeah, it's something that only really Arsenal do as well, isn't it? That you've got all these young players coming through. Man United are good for it, to be fair. They are good at bringing through players, but they're more prone for spending big. But yeah, that would be unbelievable. And you've got Ethan, I can't say his last name. He's probably like 16 now. I don't know if he's turned 16.
Yeah, he is. He just had his birthday. Him and Miles could be first team players if they do, especially Ethan just signed that deal, man. Just signed that deal.
That's the thing.
The best place to be, my guy.
We don't know what he's doing. You've seen Hutchinson. I was writing about Hutchinson today. He'll be ruined the fact that he's went to Chelsea.
Struggling for minutes there,
watching. It's not even the fact that he's not played as much as he would have liked. It's the fact that he's come in and they've went and signed so many players in his position. So he's got I don't think he has much hope of doing anything there. But it's touching back on Nelson. It's interesting that this time last year there were so many rumours about Nketiah, if he'd signed a contract, being linked with Crystal Palace and such. There's nothing really about Nelson, is there? There's
nothing. Every now and again, there's tentative rumors, but are they credible? I don't know. I'm sure people will have him at 23 being a free agent and things like that. That's another thing. I don't want us to miss money, bro. Like, if he makes it here, great, but tie him down. I look at him, he's out of contract. Balogun's until 2025. This is money that could be reinvested if we let it go.
Think how much money you'd save by just giving him a contract for 3 years as opposed to going out and buying a Lindstrom.
Exactly.
For 30 million pounds, like you're saving so much money.
Especially when they're not significantly better than what we have.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense to spend that money when you don't need to. If Nelson sat right there and he's happy, like I say, if he's happy with the role he's got, the bit part role, then got to make it happen. I think.
I'm with you.
Let him sign on.
Sign on, man. I can't lie, Jason, man. This has been fantastic, man. Asking you questions. Appreciate everyone commenting. Let people know where they can find you on your social media handles. All information will be in the description after this video, by the way, folks.
Nice one. Yeah, just Twitter really. JB Soutar, and you find me moaning about referees and
I think every Arsenal fan moans about them, broski. You're not alone.
yeah, tweeting out ridiculous transfer rumors like Theo Hernandez to Arsenal, Zinchenko, stuff like that. It's all fun and games though. But yeah, that's it. That's where you'll find me. That's where I live my life, on Twitter.
This guy, man. People, you heard the man, innit? You know, follow him for all information. Check out the articles and whatnot. Give him some follows. Spread the Gooner love. Jason, it's been fantastic you being here for 40 odd minutes, man. I appreciate you for giving up your time. It's been an enriching convo. Hopefully, you know, we go and bring this big one home. I'm going to love and leave you lot and let you get out of here, man. Love for doing that, man. But people,
Nice one.
we're gone. If you ain't followed him, follow him. Smash the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. And enjoy what's left of your day, man. We're out.
There's always just that active red flag, defending. I think it's like